Hi, my name's Dan, and today we're cleaning bearings. I recognize this is not a super exciting topic for most skaters, but it's pretty important to keep your board rolling smoothly, and you don't want any crustiness or chunkiness in those bearings to get in the way when you're trying to land a new trick. I clean my bearings every 6 to 8 weeks. I don't have one of the proper bearing cleaning kits. I have kind of a fast way of doing it. So I think here in under 30 minutes we can clean all 4 wheels, get them all back up and ready to skate again. So let's head over to the workbench and give it a shot. Let's jump in and talk about bearings in general. There is the outer ring and the inner ring here, and the inner ring is meant to flow smoothly with respect to the outer ring. The outer ring connects to the wheel, the inner ring connects to your axle. The thing in the middle is called, I think it's called a race, that has the actual balls in it, and then this outer cover here is just made out of plastic with a little bit of metal in it. Just use a knife. I usually kind of go on the inside there and pop it out. This one's not coming. There we go. And what you can see is that there's a metal ring on the inside, and then it's kind of covered with rubber. And this thing is meant to be a sealant that keeps grit and sand and rocks from getting in. And so you can see the balls there on the inside, and we want to protect those. We want to keep those clean. Those are going to roll against the outside surface and the inside surface. They're also going to roll against this surface here. So you'll see when I'm cleaning, I end up sort of cleaning all of that and cleaning this and the inside and the outside, and then lubing the stuff in the middle and on the outside with some of this Bones Speed Cream. All right, so that's what we're going to do. One thing I found is a good way to tell if a bearing is still working well or not is to kind of hold on to that inner ring and spin it. And you can do that when it's in your wheel as well. You kind of hold on to the inner and spin it. If you just spin your wheel on the axle when you're not riding the board, that doesn't actually tell you that much, because the inner ring might just be spinning on the axle itself, which isn't representative of what's going to happen when you're actually standing on the board and applying a load to it. But if you hold it in your hands like that, you can actually feel the inner ring and the outer ring and any extra vibrations or grittiness that's in there. And in fact, on this old set of wheels I have, this bearing is rolling quite smoothly, and this one is not. This one feels pretty bumpy. And so that way you can tell, it's like, okay, this one definitely needs a little more work, or maybe needs to be replaced. All right, so time, how long it's going to take to do this. I'll talk you through the first wheel, then I'll just cruise through the rest of them. Generally, when I clean my bearings, I will also rotate the wheels. I'll either flip them inside to outside if they're wheels that can be easily flipped in to out. And you can kind of look at the wear on the wheel to figure out if it's a good time to flip it. We'll also rotate front to back. These particular wheels are Rick to Clouds, which I kind of like, but they don't suit themselves well for being flipped inside to outside, so I'm going to keep them facing that direction. Let's start a timer and get this thing rolling, see how long it actually takes us to do this. The supplies I'll be using, got a knife, either use a skate tool or a wrench to take off nuts. I've got some paper towels I'm going to use. If you have some shop rags, you can use those as well. I also have some high pressure air that I'm going to use, but you don't necessarily have to have that. So first things first, let's take a look at these bearings. You can see maybe that there's quite a bit of dust and dirt on there. I don't ride in particularly dirty environments, just a skate park and parking lots and sidewalks and things, but it helps to get all that cleaned off. We don't want any of that to get inside to where the balls are. So first things first, I'm going to take off all the wheels. I'm going to clean them just with paper towels as I take them off. I'm also going to clean the washers, the speed rings that are in there, and the nuts. I'm going to make sure I keep the nuts and the washers with the same position that they were in before, because these tend to get worn down, and I like them to be worn down with the axle to keep them together. And then we'll clean the bearings one at a time. So I'm already a minute in. Let's start taking these things apart. All right, so I'm getting these washers and speed rings nice and clean. There's a lot of gunk on there. And you don't want any of that. You want it to be nice and shiny metal. Go ahead and put it there. I'm also going to clean off the axle at the same time. That axle has a bunch of junk on it. We don't want any of that hanging around. We want to get rid of all that as well. So now I've got a nice, clean, shiny axle. Get the threads clean. See how much of that we got in the paper towel. Now I'm going to do the same thing to the wheel itself. Try to get as much off of that as I can. Keep using clean parts of the paper towel. Now having clean bearings like this actually helps your board roll smoother, help with landing tricks if you don't get stopped on some chunkiness inside of your bearings, and roll faster. Oftentimes that speed is necessary for learning new tricks. Just kind of feel that, see what it feels like. They both feel pretty nice. There's a little bit more wear on the inner one. Okay, let's do that for all the other wheels. At this point, we're about 8 minutes in. We have all 4 wheels off the board. The axles are all clean, the nuts are clean, the speed rings are cleaned, and it's time to actually take the bearings apart and clean them on the inside and relubricate them. So let's do that. So let's take apart. Let's feel it again to make sure. Okay, this one rolls really smooth, so there's probably not much work needed on this guy. Go ahead and pop out these covers. What I'm going to do is take a paper towel, kind of wad it up so it has a nice little tip on it, a clean tip. By the way, I took the time to wash my hands after that so I don't have junk all over my hands. I'm going to take this tip and I'm just going to kind of dab it in there and get any major dirt that might be in there. And you can see there is some in there. I'm going to try to kind of wipe that out. And as you roll the bearings, right, they're going to roll. So even if you kind of keep doing the same thing over and over again, you're hitting different parts of the bearings. Okay, now it's coming out clean, so that's good. Do the same thing on the other side. Kind of roll it. How's it coming out? A little dirty. Keep rolling it. Still a little dirty. Let's keep going. Okay, that's coming out looking good. Lastly, I'm going to hit it with some 80 psi air. You don't have to do that, but I like to do it. Let's do a quick roll check. Okay, that is nice and smooth. Now, a quick note, some people will run like this without the outer shield on. They just run with their bearings open. And I understand, maybe it looks cool or it sounds cool, but what you're doing is you're exposing the most precious part of your bearings to rock and dirt and sand and grit. And so that's going to make this plastic ring in there, that race that holds the bearings in place, probably break at some point, and these bearings will pop out. And then those bearings will be on the skate park for somebody like me to run into when I'm trying to do a trick. So I recommend actually leaving these on. Let's clean these while we're at it. Make sure they're in good shape. Get the other one in good shape. All right. Now we're going to put on some of this. 2 or 3 drops. Kind of spread it out. One there. One there. One there. Take a little bit on your finger and spread it on the bottom of this thing. That's where it's going to interact on the inside and the outside. Before I put it together, I'll give it a nice spin a few times and let that all soak through all of them in there. And drop that in. Pop it back in place. Make sure it still spins smoothly. It does. Clean off any excess. Same thing on the other side. 1, 2, 3 drops. A little bit on the finger to go on the inside of the shield. Get a little on the outside and the inside of that. Drop that into place. Actually, before I drop it into place, I'm going to spin it and allow that stuff to work evenly among all the ball bearings that are in there. Cover back on. Drop it into place. This one is not going in well. Okay, here we go. When you're done, you ought to feel it click into place. Sometimes it goes in too far and then you have to pop it back out, put it back in again. That feels pretty good. Nope, it went in too far. You pop it out and start over. Good pop, pop, pop. There we go, nice and smooth. All right, that guy's done. You're gonna do the same thing for the next 3 of them. All right, we're about 27, 28 minutes in at this point, and all of the wheels are rolling smooth again. They're ready to go. Let's get them back on the board and get this thing finished out. Usually leave just a little bit of slop. You don't want to get too tight and apply the wrong kind of pressure on the bearings, but you also don't want to be too loose, such that it just slides on the axle rather than the bearings doing their job. Okay. Okay, so we're done. Just under 30 minutes. All the wheels are rolling smoothly again, ready to get back out there and skate. Hopefully this is helpful for you. Thanks for joining. Enjoy the ride.